2020 was a fairly boring year in the TV industry with no real technological advancements. 2021 promises to be much more exciting. In this video, we wanted to take a look at some current trends in the TV domain, new technologies, and new TV models that we expect to see over this year. All the leading manufacturers have pretty much revealed their lineups at CES or their own online events, and it looks like home cinema enthusiasts and those of us that love TV technology will have a lot to look forward to. We expect 2021 to be the year that will transition HDMI 2.1 from scarcely implemented novelty to a standard feature, and finally remove the limitations of HDMI 2.0b, which have held back a lot of the last year's models and made them a subpar choice in the long run. It will still probably be reserved for somewhat better models with 120Hz panels and HDR support, so don't expect to see it on cheaper models on which it is not really necessary anyway. Also, first-gen HDMI 2.1 devices have had their share of issues and often lacked support for all the features this standard brings, so we expect some improvements on new models and a lot less compatibility problems. As for the panel technologies, there's some good stuff happening as well. Mini LED backlight, which we saw on only a few USA models last year and none of the flagships, will step into the spotlight this year. Practically all the big brands will have their models equipped with this technology, and it will be a feature that will make the biggest quantum leap for LCD TVs, and finally, at least in the upper segment, retire the direct LED. As a reminder, Mini LED is a backlight system which consists of thousands of miniature light-emitting diodes and offers a much finer control of local dimming, but also a better backlight uniformity and higher peak brightness, so we expect to see huge image quality improvements over last year's flagships. The next step in form of a micro-LED, which is self-emissive like OLED but with regular non-organic LEDs, is still reserved only for super large screens, so Samsung, Sony and probably a few others will have their models, but over 110 inches and priced way up in 5 figures, so a regular Joe and Jane can pretty much forget about it for a few more years, unless we get an early surprise by Chinese BOE, which is developing its own version of it in cooperation with Rohini startup from Idaho. There's another interesting thing developed by Samsung's display division that we won't see this year on Samsung TVs, but we may see by TCL or some other brand. It is a QD-OLED which, unlike LG's OLED with red, green, blue and white subpixels, uses blue OLED light source and quantum dot filters to achieve red and green. QD-OLED looks like an interesting alternative with some potential advantages over LG's technology, but it looks like Samsung either wishes to test it on some other brand first, or simply thinks it's not the right time to be associated with OLED technology, which it was so opposed to for years back. Speaking of Samsung, let's see what they have to offer in 2021. After 2 years of making QLED models not even on par with previous year's models, in 2021 we will finally see something that will not only be a serious upgrade, but almost a mini revolution. New 8K and 4K models arrive under the Neo QLED branding, behind which we'll see Samsung's wide-angle VA panels with quantum dot technology, but this time with mini LED backlight. Judging by what we've seen in their presentation, Neo QLED TVs will be very thin thanks to the new backlight and offer improved image quality, higher peak brightness, plus some additional improvements like redesigned sound system that emits from different parts of the screen and can even track screen objects, as well as deep learning image processing algorithms. Judging by what we've seen in their presentation, Neo QLED TVs will be very thin thanks to the new backlight and offer improved image quality, higher peak brightness, plus some additional improvements like redesigned sound system that emits from different parts of the screen and can even track on-screen objects, as well as deep learning image processing algorithms, which seem to be the trend this year among the big brands. The remote controller looks almost identical as last year, but is now solar-powered, and in line with this green theme, there's a new packaging which allows users to make cardboard decorations or home furniture. New Samsung models will follow a similar naming scheme but with an A suffix, so we can't wait to test the Q90A or the Q95A with a new thin One Connect box and see how good they actually are. The main Korean rival continues pushing its OLED technology, so the LG fans will see the C1, B1 and G1 OLED models, which are successors to CX, BX and GX series, plus USA folks will get the new A1, which is a poor man's OLED, so to speak, with 60Hz refresh rate and some other basic features. C1 OLED will surely be the most popular one and is expected to bring slightly higher peak brightness compared to CX, improved color display, and the new 4th Gen Alpha 9 image processor, which, you guessed it, brings deep learning capabilities. Unlike last year when the GX series was different from the CX only by design, this time the G1 comes with a completely new panel labeled OLED Evo, which, like Pro panels that were shipped to Panasonic in the previous years, offers an even brighter image. As for the B1 and A1, they use a previous generation processor, so the C1 is definitely where the good stuff starts if you want the latest technology. Notable changes include the new WebOS 6.0 with a redesigned interface that makes me wonder if it's an improvement or a step back, and the same goes for the redesigned Magic Remote, which at least in the promo shots looks a bit cheaper than before, but let's wait till we see it live, perhaps it might give off a much better impression. A especially cool feature is the addition of Google Stadia, so owners of these TVs will be able to play latest games on their TV without the need to own a PC or a console thanks to Google's cloud gaming services. Sounds revolutionary in theory, but let's see how it performs in use. It's not all OLED though, cause instead of its nanocell models which have failed badly last year, LG is releasing the QD lineup. Practically a nanocell with mini LED backlights, so we believe there will be some cool models in it. IPS and mini LED seem like a potentially good combo, especially paired with LG's image processing, so here's hoping that QD and Neo QLED will put up a fight which the users will benefit from. Beside these normal TVs, LG also announced a transparent OLED, smart 42-inch OLED which is the smallest so far, as well as an interesting 48-inch OLED gaming TV which is bendable, so you can switch between the flat and curved screen at any time. Those users that want a top-of-the-line OLED can't avoid getting an LG panel, but it's almost certain that the best OLED TV in 2021, perhaps the best TV in general this year, will be the Panasonic JZ2000, a successor to last year's phenomenal HZ2000, which, beside the higher peak brightness compared to LG's models due to the specially cooled panel, this year brings some improvements like the new sound system, Dolby Vision IQ and HDR10 Plus adaptive HDR support, as well as HDMI 2.1 and gaming functions, which will probably make it the most complete model for home entertainment. Panasonic's traditionally superb image processing this time relies on a new HCX Pro AI chip, which we will probably see on some Panasonic's LCD models as well, which weren't announced yet at the time we're recording this. It will be interesting to see whether these will also use a mini LED. In the age of virtual product announcements, the funniest or cringiest one was held by Sony, as their representatives seemed like they came straight out of some Japanese B production movie. Fortunately, the products were much better, so we saw the A90J Bravia Master Series OLED with sizes from 55 to 83 inches, as well as successors to last year's X900 and X950 models, this time with a J instead of an H in their names. The most important improvement seems to be the new Bravia XR cognitive processor, which on top of Sony's already excellent image processing adds machine learning, which emulates the human visual perception and adjusts the image accordingly. We have no doubt that this will look good, but it remains to see which of the brands will make the most out of this machine learning thing. Unlike Sony's last year models, which were missing some HDMI 2.1 features like variable refresh rate or auto-low latency mode, but promised to add them later, which caused quite the stir recently due to some mixed messaging about whether the update will be coming or not, the new models will seemingly arrive with fully functional HDMI 2.1 ports. That is certainly preferable, as buying an unfinished product is a bad practice that is becoming more and more common, and which certainly is not in line with Sony's good reputation. Hisense, which for years has been known for its very good VA panels, surprised us big time with its 2021 portfolio, which is almost completely based on IPS panels. Personally, I was quite shocked, but I'm assuming they have a very good reason for it, perhaps some new generation of IPS panels, which might be a positive surprise. Top of the line will be a 75-inch U9 GQ mini LED model, with U8 GQ following in the high end under the OLED QD branding, a model for which we are not sure which technologies it actually uses, beside the obvious quantum dot. This year we'll also see the Hisense OLED with A9G model number and 55 and 65-inch sizes, though we have no information on whether it uses an LG panel or perhaps some surprise. In the middle segment, we have A7GQ IPS and E76GQ VI models with QD-UHD branding, which hints at quantum dot in the more affordable price range, something like what TCL did last year with its C715 series. Entry-level models are a 6G series with IPS panels in 55, 65 and 75 inch sizes and VA panels in 43, 50 and 58 inch ones. Let's not forget the TCL, which was practically the last to present its portfolio, and not even all of it. We'll be seeing the successors to last year's models in the form of C725, P725 and C825, with P and C715 replacements being upgraded with MEMC as we predicted in our reviews, while the C815 replacement is augmented with mini LED backlight, 120Hz refresh rate, gaming features and something called Magic Camera, which all seems very interesting, so we hope to test that model as soon as possible. The most intriguing thing is that 2 out of 5 positions in their lineup image were grayed out, and the presenter noted that we should expect something really interesting sometime around June, so it remains to be seen what the TCL has planned that is even more impressive than the C825. The Chinese company is truly a giant in the consumer electronics and TV industry and has the means to make some big surprises, so it's possible that we may see TCL-made QD-OLED or even some BOE OLED-based model. All in all, a lot of good stuff is coming, with possibly more surprises announced soon, since not all companies have revealed their lineups, and product events are happening even as we're making this video, so there may be some new details out already. 2021 promises some big changes, and we can't wait to test all the new models throughout the year and see if they deliver the expected improvements. We would like to hear your thoughts on this year's TV models and which of them do you find most interesting. We hope you enjoyed this video enough to give us a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing to our channel for more interesting tech-related content. Keep watching Bench House, my name is Ivan, and I'll see you next time.